Okay, so a little bit earlier, I was on the phone talking to a family member who had been very um aggressive and abusive toward me in the past with another family member in ways that were equal to and in some cases worse than what I experienced with certain white individuals. So while I was talking to this family member who had been abusive towards me with another relative in the past, she was saying that she pulled up my ancestry DNA results, okay, from a reputable company, not the ancestry.com, no, it's another company. And she was saying, and and she was telling me that a specific country that my dad's father comes from was completely removed from my results, okay? The Cape Verde Islands, those are black people who live there. They have some Jewish ancestry, and there's also a little bit of like a little bit of Chinese and other stuff, just a small amount. And she was telling me that my results did not show my dad's father's country at all. And see, this is significant to me because when I first paid for my test in 2018, my grandfather's island nation, Cape Verde, off the west coast of Africa, where they had, Jewish orphans and Native American men and West African girls enslaved. Those islands off the coast of West Africa where they did that. That island showed specifically on my DNA test results, and it showed the exact percentage of that DNA from my dad's father. So now here it is a couple of years later, and my female relative who had been abusive to me in the past, she's claiming that she was able to look at my results and that it's not there when I know for a fact it was there when I paid for the test. Okay. And not only that, she was saying that all these different African countries that were that I'm not even descended from was on the test. That same year I had a separate test from a company owned by two black scientists. And so I know what tribes and nations I'm descended from on the black side. And the nations she listed in my results, I'm not related to any of those people. I had a separate test from a black owned company. So that right there was a tip off to me too. And not only were they listing a bunch of African nations that I'm not even related to, they also increased my African DNA results from what it was from a couple of years ago. And they decreased all of the other races that I'm mixed with. And they also, like I said, completely removed the island that my dad's father comes from. They're not even showing it now, according to what she was telling me. So I made an attempt to log into my account, and the account was empty, and there was no results of any kind showing. It looks almost as if I never even bought a test. So either she lied to me and she made some shit up, or Ancestry DNA changed my test results to the extent that they removed the nation that my dad's father came from, and which is a black nation, and they went ahead and decreased everything in my DNA that's not African and then increased it and labeled it Nigerian. Now, I'm trying to see if I can get back to my results, because the system's making it look like I never even bought a test. When I tried getting in after that conversation. And the paper genocide that they're committing here is significant for a couple reasons. Okay, that's if they've done it like what she says, because I'm checking to see if they really did do it. Now, if they did do it, it's significant for a couple of reasons. Because, first of all, by altering my results to genetically tie me to Nigeria, when in fact, based on results from a Black-owned company, my tribes is not Nigerian, don't have nothing to do with no Nigeria or Ghana. Now, with this white-owned company, by making my results say I'm related to Nigeria and Ghana and all these other nations I'm really not, what they're doing is they're helping Nigeria and Ghana to make massive sums of money off of Americans when they do that. When they tell you you're descended from all these different countries that you really don't come from, okay, well, that's going to help those countries to make money off of your tourism. That's going to help them to make money off of you trying to pack up and move and settle there, even though you don't have no ancestors from there. And also, in addition to that, America already had a lot of Black people here long before Europeans showed up, okay? We have all these pyramids through North and South America. You know, they pulled Egyptian-style sarcophaguses out of a lake in North America in front of 50,000 witnesses. You know, you have temples in South America covered in images of red people and charcoal Black people who have dreadlocks. They got statues of wide-nosed, thick-lipped people all throughout the South American jungles because Black people built these pyramids in North and South America, okay? Black people have been here for more than 40,000 years, and Black people did diverge from Africa genetically after being here for so long because there were different environmental pressures here that included a 100-year drought from cutting down too many trees. That alone forced a lot of the Black people here to evolve in a different way from Africans because they couldn't grow any food for 100 years. So certain types of Black males just didn't make it, okay? That's why we're a little bit different from Africans after being here for 40,000 years. So with that said, with them doing this paper genocide and trying to tie the Black part of our DNA to African nations that we don't come from, that does help them to make money, but it also distances us from the Black ancestors who was actually from America, okay, with them. And also for those of us who are descended from the more Asiatic tribes of this country, which includes myself, with them decreasing the Native American DNA and decreasing the Asian DNA in our results, you know, that's helping them to participate in the process of trying to erase the fact that we were here long before any slave traders showed up. You know, they don't want our DNA to show that we're descended from the Black people who built all these pyramids in North and South America. And we got like 70 pyramids here in Ohio. You know, just Ohio alone, they're all over. And whether it's stone, earth, whatever, you know, and regardless of whether we're descended from the Black people who did that or from the more Asiatic tribes like the Apaches, they don't want any of that showing in our background. And the simple fact that my dad's father, who was not from this country and also from the Cape Verde Islands, where they had Native American men from Canada and also Black girls sold by their own people and Jewish orphans, the fact that my ancestry from that place, my dad's father, was completely removed from my results, if what my relative was telling me was the truth, then that right there is just a further confirmation of the lengths that they're going to, you know, to make it look like I have almost no ancestry from this continent. Because they completely changed all of my results. But the big tip-off is not just solely just decreasing my indigenous American and Asian DNA, but they removed my dad's father, the islands that my dad's father comes from. They completely removed that all the way from my results, and he's not a distant ancestor. So how is it that I have 0 Cape Verdean DNA now after my results have been around for a couple years? But yet that's a grandparent, that's my dad's father, and now you're saying I have almost now you're saying I have 0 DNA from there, and that's my dad's father. So, it's already bad enough that, if my family member was telling the truth about what she saw, because I logged in and none of my results were there. But if she's telling the truth, it's bad enough that they drastically reduced my Native American and Asian ethnic groups. But now on top of that, just fully, completely removed the DNA results from the island that my granddad came from. Just knocked it all the way out of there. So, this is a really good example of if they have in fact done this, because I'm still waiting to see if I can get access to the results that I paid for a couple years ago. I'm still checking on it, and when I logged in, none of my results were visible to me, but my female family member, she claimed that she can see it. So this is just, like I said, this is a really good example of paper genocide, where they're just obliterating all traces of any ties that I have to this continent, and also obliterating ties to the actual African tribes that the black part of my DNA came from. They're obliterating ties to the islands that my dad's father comes from, because it was there, and now it's completely removed. And it's very evil. And then on top of that, they're trying to claim that one of my parents has Neanderthal DNA. I have 0 Neanderthal DNA. It was 0 when I paid for the test. I was even joking about it with my white friend who I had back then named Matthew. And with Matthew, I was joking with him, about racial purity and keeping the bloodlines pure and all that, because I thought it was kind of funny. And so how the hell is it that they're trying to claim one of my parents has Neanderthal DNA when I don't have any at all? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So like I said, I'm trying to get in there to see if what my female relative was telling me today is true or not. I logged in and none of my results for my DNA test from a couple of years ago is visible. And I'm just really glad that I had a separate test done at a company owned by Black scientists. So at least for that part of my DNA, I know that I am not connected to Nigeria nor Ghana. I know specifically what tribes my ancestors actually came from on that side. But with this other company that's owned by Americans and Latinos, they've drastically altered my results in some very extreme ways to suit their purposes. And that's if my female relative was telling the truth. And if they've really changed my results to the extent that she says they did, I don't want them representing me. I really don't. I'm not going to let some monkey-ass individuals represent me when they're trying to do some evil shit that they really are going to get judged for brutally. They think they can just do shit like that indefinitely and have no consequences, and it don't work like that. It's bad enough that they decreased my Native American and Asiatic and ethnic groups drastically, but then they turn around and just fully remove my dad's father from my DNA results. No trace of him anywhere when it was there when I paid for the test. That right there, if they did in fact do it, that right there is a sign of the delinquency and the degeneracy of the people who are running the DNA company that I used. That is just straight delinquency and degeneracy right there.